So we'll present to you our interesting case. Jamina, can you please go ahead and present?
Yeah, so this is an 84-year-old lady who has a background of hypertension, type 2 diabetic, on oral hypoglycemic drugs. She's got adverse BMI with a weight of 104 kilograms.
You can show the next slide, please.
And she has a history of atrial flutter on a DOAC. He was admitted with a non-STEMI and a troponin of 3,000 with a transthoracic echocardiogram showing good preserved left ventricular function. It was a difficult examination due to her BMI, but there was no obvious regional wall motion abnormalities.
So she was transferred to the CAD lab for an assessment of the coronaries. Thank you. Can you show the right first? Perfect. So there's a severe disease of the mid RCA. There's a long segment with moderate to severe calcification, about a 70–90% stenosis. This is the right dominant artery. Can you show the next one? Okay. Can you show the left? Perfect. So the left main and the circ are free of disease. We can see there was some calcification with only less than 30% stenosis of the marginal. Next, can you show this one? The mid to distal LAD looks fine, but there's some calcified, and we had doubt on the proximal LAD here. Can you show the next slide? Here, so you see it's like grayish. This is more a little bit hazy on the proximal LAD, so we had a doubt on this. Can you show the last one, please? Here. Okay, so we decided to assess physiologically the LAD.
And also there was slow flow down the LAD.
Right.
And with the calcium and our suspicion of Prox LAD disease, we wanted to make sure if we're dealing with single vessel or multi-vessel disease.
Right. So we went forward. And you want to take over here, Mohamed?
Yeah, sure. So we decided to evaluate. For us, it was clear that the RCA was a significant disease, diffuse, calcified, that needed addressing with atherectomy and imaging. And the LAD, we wanted to be sure. So best way to evaluate that is to interrogate. We decided to perform an IFR, diastolic waveform measurements. Here we're working in a Philips room. So luckily we have access to the IFR pullback, which helps you determine if there's a step down, a step up, and at which point is the most significant disease. So we have access to the co-registration. We had a distal measurement of IFR of 0.88. And in this case, we're positive. And then we performed injection and a slow pullback. And as you can see, there's a delta that goes all the way approximately to 0.93, so over 20 millimeters. But if you look at it angiographically, it doesn't look significant. It's moderate disease, it's not severe. And I think we clearly have a culprit. So in this case, we discussed it together and we thought we can complement this exam with adenosine. And we'll discuss this later on, but we already have a pacemaker in place, so there's no worry of bradycardia. So we're ready to do the adenosine now.
Yeah, so we have the FFR wire down in the mid-distal LAD. We're about to inject the adenosine. So here we go.
So we saw some T-wave changes indicating that it was efficient. And here you can see the measurement. So the lowest we got was 0.84.
Right. And it was effective because the pacemaker took over for a little bit. So the adenosine was quite effective. So the FFR is negative here with 0.84.
So I don't know if you agree, but
I think we're pretty confident that it's fine to leave the LAD alone. We'll call that moderate disease.
And in this 84-year-old lady, if we can avoid putting extra stents, that would be, I think, ideal situation because we're anticoagulated anyway.
Yeah. So clearly the culprit is the RCA here.
We'll do one final image on the left system. Good.
Here we go.
Now, can we have the next slides? We'll continue to our discussions. Gauche.
All right. So as you saw, the right RCA was kind of severely calcified. How we say that is because we could see the artery even before the artery was moving, and even before we injected contrast. So just by this is a definition of severe calcification. It's very diffuse as well. So we elected here to go with rotational atherectomy. We have access, we're very, very lucky here. We have access to rotational atherectomy, orbital laser, and also IVL. In this case, we debated whether we would use rotational atherectomy or orbital atherectomy. So the pros and cons of each of the strategies, well, rotational atherectomy is the one we definitely have the most experience with. We've been using it for decades now. Rotational atherectomy is useful here because the artery is not that tortuous. Rotational atherectomy is only useful for subemptymal calcification. It doesn't break or it doesn't do anything to the more profound calcification. Here in this case, we don't know if the calcification is deep or superficial. So we decided we would use rotational atherectomy first and then study the lesion with IVUS to see the extent of lesion preparation and then decide on the next strategy if necessary or not.
So our setup at this point, as I explained, we have a pacemaker in place via the femoral artery, and we took a JR 3.5 7 French, and the 7 French enables us to use the 0.175 burr. Center, please. So I like when I do rotational, any type of atherectomy, I prefer to go with either a workhorse or a CTO wire off the bat. I don't know about you, Guillaume, but for me, it's easier that way. And then I switch. So that way I don't need to worry about manipulating a long wire.
No, I agree with you. I mean, the floppy wire or the Viper wire for the orbital are quite difficult to get around with. So when the calcification looks just a little bit hard to cross, well, it's always a good intention to try with a workhorse wire we are used to. We put it on a microcatheter up front, and then that makes things way much easier afterwards. So here we use a turnpike as a microcatheter. Here we go. We're just going to cross the lesion with the turnpike, and then we're going to remove the workhorse.
So I think this is a safe place to park the wire.
So here in this case, we use a turnpike, but we could have used the easily other microcatheter that don't need to be torqued, just as a fine cross or the Caravel and so on. But you know, we never know up front. So you're gonna put the wire in the
so
PDA,
it was small
PDA
branches
here.
and some PVCs there. So I decided to go to a larger branch in the PDA. Can you test, please?
I think you're in the PDA here.
Yeah. So if you were dealing with a rotowire or a Viper wire, probably would not be able to deliver here right off the bat.
Right.
You need to form some sort of exchange. Let's store this, please.
Okay, we're gonna take the floppy wire.
So now we'll take the floppy wire.
Yeah.
All right, so we're ready. We're using today here the RotaPro. RotaPro comes already mounted. You don't need to do any of the mounting unless if you want to change the burr. So it's very important to have your drip ready. And today I'd like to demonstrate to you a very useful technique if you're doing rotablader on your own. It saves you hands. I call it the one-man technique. It's been demonstrated online a few times. And you can find it easily on YouTube, but I find it very useful. So you have one hand at the back, and we'll put the wire in the sleeve. So then one hand pushes, and the other hand pulls. So, okay, you can let it go now.
We do that.
So under fluoro.
Usually under fluoro to
if
make
you watch
sure.
my hands, I have one hand pushing, the other hand pulling. So the ratio of pull to push, I'd like to say 1.5 of pulling to 1 of pushing the burr. That way you keep your wire and guiding stable. you deliver the burr maybe about 2 centimeters from the lesion. Here I'm dealing with a long lesion, so I want to make sure I really take it slow, because this is the type of lesion which you can run into entrapment. If it goes too quickly, then you get entrapped. So I'm going to demonstrate the technique. I'm here at the guiding, 2 centimeters to avoid the jump. And then you put everything straight, release.
Release the tension.
So I pull back a little bit. You see the burr didn't move. That means I had a little bit of tension in my system. And so ready to go. Make sure that you have someone watching the monitor, because you can't see everything. This is a wire, burr, lesion, patient. You have to have someone helping you, giving you quotes and tips. So we have a pacemaker. We're not worried, but I still want to know, because if I get bradycardia, that means I've had higher chances of having no reflow.
Right.
So let's go.
First
I'll
round.
start with a pecking motion, and then you listen. So I'm having resistance at the mid segment. So you can see here, patient becomes dependent on the pacemaker. So I think we made a very good choice. It was a good call from the beginning, because we had bradycardia, heart rate was between 50 to 60, and you hear the sound of resistance of the lesion.
Right.
There's a lot of resistance. I don't know if you can hear it. Oh, there you go. Let's save that. There was a jump.
Yeah.
You saw the jump?
Yeah, there was a jump, and the high pitch dropped suddenly. So that means that you crossed the lesion.
So I think we're good with this burr.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree. You want to take a feel for it, see if it's smooth enough to your liking.
Then we can escalate to 175.
We'll do one final polishing. That's very smooth. Okay, so I'm happy to go to 175. So let's take things out. Okay, I'm going to open the two-way, please. So with the RotoPro, you just put it on Dynaglide, and you have the blue button here to activate, and you take off the brakes. Here we go with the fluoro. So again, I'm feeding the burr looking downwards, so I get my drip on the wire. Remove all dye, if there's any dye sticking to it. Very well. Oh, let's test that.
So we're going to test again, Aris. Let's go.
180.
Very
That's
good.
Perfect.
Okay.
And we'll go very gentle, because I know I had resistance in that mid segment, and I don't want to have any burr stall. Let's do a small test before we go.
Yeah, ready?
Yeah,
Yep.
Test. Okay, flow is okay. Let's store this. There's some resistance in that mid lesion, and we're on the pacemaker now. So I'm performing my pecking motion. I'm gonna stop, let it breathe, so we don't get no reflow. So with the burr, if you can notice, it's advancing slowly in the lesion. The sound is better. We don't have any decelerations, maybe 5,000 at some point.
We still hear a bit of
You can
resistance.
still hear the resistance.
Very nice.
See, there was something there at the curve, and it jumped a little bit.
Yeah, very nice.
But we're okay now. Very smooth. There you go.
Very
We're all
smooth.
good.
The sound is stable.
Now it's fine.
Yep.
So let's get out of here.
Dynaglide.
We'll give some IC verapamil.
Then have a look.
5. Can you push it? Excuse me,
Okay.
while you see. Let's do a test and see what's going on. Yeah, so definitely no reflow. We'll give some more verapamil. Take care of the no reflow. Okay, let's swap the long wire. Take the rotablader. STs are much better now. You can see the monitor.
C'est une gonflette pour l'enlever.
Yeah, gonflette.
On va prendre une gonflette.
So this is a short wire. This is a 135 microcatheter. This is my preferred technique to hydroglide the microcatheter out. Let's take out the air. And push some dye. Maybe we can take a cine. Push some dye. Okay, good. Let's take a cine.
Very nice.
Okay. Well, it flows better.
Yeah, the flow is recovered.
So let's see what we have on imaging. I'd be curious to see if we what the calcium looks like. Put it straight and we'll pull back.
Here we go.
Large vessel.
Very nice. Okay, so it's free of disease here.
We started with a calcium arc. There you go.
There we go.
That's a 360 calcium arc. 360. There are zones of fracture. If you see at 11 and 5 o'clock.
So the downside of 5 is here is that when there's a 360 calcium arc, it's impossible or very difficult to see if there's some deep calcium there as well.
But you can still see some shadowing behind that arc.
You can see some shadowing, yeah. Having used OCT, we could have seen deep
Really?
calcium a little bit better.
We have good images proximal and distally.
Right.
We have very good landing zones. All right.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that we have good expansion on the balloon before putting in any stents. That way we have an optimal result. And I think this is key here, using imaging when dealing with extensive calcification and you start doing plaque modification and advanced techniques. So we have a 3.0 by 15 balloon.
Yeah.
Good expansion on the balloon. So let's take a look at that. We'll do some IVUS. Can you flush, please, the catheter?
Yeah.
So we did the second run of IVUS. Can we show it, please? Let's look at the beginning. Okay, stop there. Let's take a diameter to be sure that we have the correct measurements. Yep. Yeah, that's okay. So 3.5 is good distally. And just let it run so we can see we have much more significant calcium fracture and more expansion of the lumen post-ballooning than we did just with the rotablator.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you see there's a large fracture up top.
Yeah.
We don't see that arc anymore. Here we have a 180 arc and there's 2 segments of fracture. We have much more of a lumen post-ballooning. Okay, I think I'll take that second plaque and we'll just put another stent because we're not going to get everything anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take it on here.
Okay, and what do you think for pulse dilating in the distal portion?
Yeah, I think definitely we're going to do a final IVUS run and
Decide afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we took that 3.5 to 14 atmospheres, which should take us to maybe 3.6. Definitely a final IVUS run would be very, very informative. Test. Okay, looks beautiful.
Good.
So let's just give a little love to the overlap.
Yep.
Go ahead, 14.
14.
Wow, look at that.
Super nice.
Expansion,
Super
amazing.
nice.
Off.
Yeah.
I think we'll do one more IVUS run.
Perfect.
Image.
Okay.
There you go. We're not in the stent yet. Let's enable the pullback.
We're looking for 3 things. Is there any edge dissection? Is there good expansion? Is there good apposition? Looks beautiful. There's no waste anywhere.
I think it looks perfect.
Yeah, the flow is good.
Okay, let's pull the wire. Very nice.
Very nice. So definitely better than it was at the beginning.
Excellent.
Yep.
So I think we're going to wrap this up. We really want to thank you for joining us here at the Montreal Heart. Myself, Mohamed Nosser, and Guillaume and Jemina. We really had a great time demonstrating this interesting case with very interesting points and learning points. I hope it was educational.